Hello, and welcome to Wargame Red Dragon deck overview. Today we're going to be looking at third Mechanized Commonwealth deck, which is obviously a Mechanized deck, which is something I really like because I really like Infantry, you can probably tell. So let's just get right in and start. So obviously I always use the fob because I'm a big resupplier. And for the resupply vehicles we've got the Alvis Stalwart. And that's mainly because well, I don't know why, I just always seem to use these. But there they are, proud as can be. And for CVs, sorry, I just saw the Rover CP there. We use the Rovers because they're cheap, effective, and get them stuck in an area. Obviously they can't defend themselves, but to be fair, I need a lot of CVs because I like playing bigger maps. And obviously you require more CVs to play that map just to cap out the areas. And also for that reason I use the Command Infantry, Canadian Command Squad, because I can get them in this Chinook, or the CH-147, it's Chinook. Which allows them to travel about the map faster. Obviously it makes them vulnerable to air attack, but no, not air attack, anti-air attack, sorry. But these are good at the first assault, just to get them stuck into the far out places from your initial spawn. I like using them. Now, actually, you know what? I might leave infantry to last. So we'll go to support. Leave infantry to last. So, I mean, AA is a big thing in this game. So I use the Challenger Marksman because that's got really good frontal armor as well. So if I get attacked by tanks, I could probably take a couple of hits face some tanks before backing off and letting hopefully my tanks deal with it. But I don't really use tanks, so probably infantry to be fair. And then we have a cheaper version of it, the Centurion Marksman. Still has decent armor. Better than most anti-air armor, so I've got that for cheaper points. Obviously you get twice as much from as well. Next, my anti-plane. Is this anti-plane one? Yeah, sorry, my anti-plane missile system for the Commonwealth, which is the Arabia. It's not the best, but it's pretty much the best the British have to offer. Unfortunately. So that's that. This is what we use. And next we have the ADATS. That probably stands for something, but the ADATS, which is my helicopter system, because obviously it has that good range in helicopters. I don't think they have any anti-ground missiles that outrange that. As well as that, I can target ground units, which makes it extremely effective, but that's why I'm a key on resupplying, because it only has 8 rounds, which means it needs to be constantly resupplied. Right, next we have tanks. Obviously, if we need the Challenger. If there's any tank I use, it's a Challenger, because it's the only tank I believe I know how to use, just for the last game. I've still not got used to the newer tanks, but obviously this deck doesn't allow me to try them, except for the Chieftain Mach 11 that we're actually using. So I like the Challenger, it's a good tank, it's a good heavy tank. Yeah, it's a good all round tank. Obviously it's expensive for that reason. Then there's a Chieftain Mach 2, which has that same long range gun, which I think most tanks have now in this game. But that means they're good for like sniping transports, if you can get them on a road. And take out infantry squads before they reach their destination, obviously. Obviously these have same accuracy as the Challengers, but worse stabilizers, so these are better for sniping tanks, stationary firing. Once again, these are a lot cheaper, but yet they still provide good tank warfare. Next we have the Leopards C2, cheaper again, 10 points less. Obviously less armor value for that. The accuracy is slightly worse as well in the main cannon, but yet it still has that longer range, which makes this tank useful as well. Although I don't really use tanks, if you've watched my gameplay footage, I'm more just an infantryman. But, sorry, it's always good to have some tank support if those cases require so. Right, reconnaissance. I always have heli reconnaissance, and sometimes, well actually I usually like something with a gun, just in case I need to support my infantry. So obviously that nice close range minigun, but it'll keep it out of harm's way of enemy gunfire unless they have anti-air present. But this job is basically reconnaissance. I use air reconnaissance all the time. Next, we have the New Zealand SAS. Once again in the Chinook. This time it is actually called the Chinook. Yeah, these guys are really good reconnaissance. I like using them. I miss the days though the standard, the British SAS being in reconnaissance, because they had the anti-air support as well, but now they're in infantry, so I use them still. Obviously the elite have this 30 kilometers an hour speed, which makes them really good for running through forests to get behind enemy lines and scout out reconnaissance for artillery targets. Which, actually, did I talk about? I think I missed artillery actually. Sorry about that. That's artillery I use. Oops. It's a pretty good range, pretty effective, pretty accurate, but of course you only get 4 of them because they are accurate and expensive as well. And also, I need to start using hotkeys for artillery, as I've been told, as well as keeping them in separate units spread out, as so I don't lose them as much, because I'm quite bad for my artillery at the moment. I'm learning how to use artillery. Right, back to reconnaissance, sorry about that. Next we have the Recce, a sniper squad. 2-man sniper squads. Sniper actually has an armor piercing value, so it can actually penetrate armor, as well as that's got a really good range. I really like using recce's, but I usually like to put them in a forward building, and then if obviously there's tanks rolling up, pull them back. But obviously if there's an infantry advance, these guys are good for sniping the infantry, and then the rest of my infantry forces will deal with what's left. Anyway, next we have vehicles, which we have a lot of. So first we have basically the LAV, pretty much is what I'm going to call it. The LAV. This is the standard one, the cheaper version, because it doesn't have those tow missiles. But these are mostly for supporting infantry. I would put these as well. Like if it's advancing infantry through the forest, I'd support with some LAVs behind. I mean, I've only tried it once and it worked, but it probably doesn't work 90% of the time. But they're also good for spotting. I like to use them for spotting as well, for putting them in the edges of forest, because they've got that gun. They're obviously only good for dealing with transports, but they do that well. So obviously if there's a tank, they're not much of a threat, to be honest. Next, the thing that everybody puts in their Commonwealth deck, but I've never seen anybody use it. The only time that I called it out, the game ended before I had the chance to use it effectively. But I mean, this is one mighty machine. This is a sniper tank, I'd call it, because it's got better frontal armor than any of my tanks in this deck, better accuracy than any of my tanks in this deck as well. Of course it doesn't have any stabilizer, so it needs to be stationary to fire, but I mean, it's a small sacrifice, so that's why it would be called a sniper tank. I'll try and use this in one of my newest videos, one of my next recorded videos hopefully, see if I can get a bit of action with it. And then this is the other LAV, obviously for another 30 points, but it comes with those 4 tow missiles, which are extremely effective against medium and heavy tanks, just because of that high AP value, that high accuracy. 4 of these in a wee group could do some serious damage. Next, Striker. I always chuck this in a deck. I mean, they'll know the best, they're not going to get accuracy, but they don't cost much. They get 10 missiles, and obviously if you station a few of them about in forests, covering the main road to where you're holding, or to cover in advance, they do their job well. Reload time 20 seconds, so it does take me a wee while to reload. That's why it's probably better to have a few of them stationed about. But of course you only get 8 of them, so that can be hard to do. Next, just our standard tow defense systems. As you can see though, they are a lot cheaper as well. They're 25 points, yeah, 25 points less than the Tuna, but it obviously has the best tow missiles, which makes it also good for doing the same. If you had a mixture of strikers, tuners, and even the ITO ones stationed round about, they do effective damage. So I've got 2 of them just so I could get a bit more of them. And yeah, I use them obviously for trying to take out heavy tanks, as well as stopping infantry advances, because, well, any any less unit from infantry to deal with means that I'm probably leaving with more infantry left. If that made any sense what I just said. Anyway, I've got another unit of the Lav Toes because I had some points left. Next, I have the Reardon, British light tank, well, support tank. Pretty much the reason I got this is because, as you can see, my AA was a bit limited, and obviously some guys will be stupid and like bring all the helicopters out of forest to try and get a good shot in some infantry or even some tanks. And if this thing is stationed, I've used it before, it can take out helicopters pretty easily, especially with a couple of them stationed about. As well as that, obviously, if people will send over transport helicopters with their infantry inside, and then this takes out the transport helicopter, takes out the infantry. One less unit I'll have to deal with. Last but not least, more tow missiles. I'm a huge fan of tow missiles because obviously, like I said, I don't like tank war. I don't use tanks much, so anything to get rid of the enemy tanks without my infantry having to do it with anti-tank weapons like RPG. Well, no RPGs in this case, like laws and that. These are what I use just to try and limit it. It's just a lighter version of the tuna, to be honest. Or the Tuan. I don't know why I call it the tuna. I'll just keep calling it the tuna. Next, we have the helicopters. Firstly, we'll have the Lynx 20mm. This is once again for infantry advances in forests. It's a thing that I like to do. Of course, if I had a transport helicopters, bring them in, I would just use the transport helicopters, but this is in case obviously I don't have that. What would you say? That freedom to do. So I'd bring these in to do the job for them. Next, anti-tank helicopters. The tow missiles. 50% accuracy, so they should hit it for every 2, so that's 4 hits, standard I'd say, which is it's enough. It's enough to deal with blow, especially since I can get 8 of them out. And last but not least, more infantry support, but obviously more expensive than the 20mm. The Bush Ranger. I call it the Bushwhacker for some reason in game. Just ignore me when I'm talking utter shite. Obviously it has the 70mm rockets, so it can suppress transports, light tanks, as well as the minigun, which will deal with infantry with ease. And now, move on to air. First, I have the anti-tank plane. Pretty standard. Good EMC. I like picking planes with good ECM, sorry. I don't know why I said EMC either. ECMs because it gives me the satisfaction knowing that they might actually make it out alive, although it does add a lot of points to the price. So this is my anti-tank. This is my bomber, the Hornet. Once again, 30% ACM, 4 500kg bombs. Well as that, I still can defend against air units, unlike the Kahoo, which only has the main gun cannon. Last but not least, my anti-airplane, the Eurofighter Typhoon. I've always been a fan of this plane ever since I was a boy, surprisingly. I don't know why, it's majestic, it's beautiful, and it's complicated. Because this is just what run the fuck on it. I believe this is right still. It takes 72 computers just to keep this thing flying, and if one of those computers fail mid-flight, the plane is going to crash. It cannot recover. At least I believe it cannot recover. They might have fixed that, but that's the fact that I know about this plane, and I love it to bits. So obviously this is my anti-air, like I said. It has 4 of these long-range missiles, good accuracy, good stabilizers, as well as the short-range missiles when it gets in close with the enemy. And now move on to navy. First we have the Tornadoes. I've been told to replace these, which I might do eventually. They're just usually, they're my kinda, basically, call in 2 of them, that's 8 missiles. They're basically my overwhelm tactic. That's what they are. This one, it's not mechanized, oh, I don't even have boats in this one. And then obviously, I'll leave the infantry to last. We have the Tomcat, which is my another anti-air ship. Obviously, it's here as well as in the air unit, sorry. But if I was playing a map where I didn't have Navy, I wouldn't have the choices of using the Tomcat, which would mean I'd have to use the Eurofighter. Anyway, actually it's cheaper than Eurofighter as well. It has much longer missile range though. Actually, does it? Yes, much longer. So there's the Tomcat. Next, the Super Hornet. This is my, not so much overwhelm, this is the ones that I know are going to get away. If they don't get away, that I feel like there's something wrong with the game. Just because they've got the best ECM I've seen. Except for, actually no, yeah, I think the best ECM in planes. Long range harpoon missiles. So I mean they should be able to get the missiles away before they even come in range of the enemy AA. And they're just all round badass. Last but not least, the, I don't even want to pronounce that, CF-18 we'll call it. The Asawu. Which once again has 2 harpoon missiles with the long range. So they should get the missiles away before they get in range of the enemy. And it's pretty much the same except it just has 10% less ECM than the Super Hornet. Right, the Diggers, Digger 90s, pretty much, if I control the sea I'll always try and cap their main point by bringing in infantry units. So these are the infantry units that do their job, the Digger 90s. Sometimes they fail, sometimes they're successful, but in all, a good little hardened unit. They do their job well. Right, now, finally, on to infantry. So first, our anti-air unit, British Javelins. Best I think, good range, alright accuracy. 2-man squad obviously, just got them in the cheap transports. Which are what, 5 points? And then, yeah, they pretty much do their job. Next we have the Milan anti-tank unit. Not the best accuracy in these, but they've got good range. 6 missiles, and once again the 5-point transport just to make them nice and cheap. Next, our first non-British, the New Zealand, oh well, the Anzac, sorry. Napalm unit. Unfortunately only 350 meter range in the Napalm. Not the best, but I guess it's always good to have some napalm. You never know when you might need it. And they're being transported in the 10-point minigun unit, which I really like because they're good for supporting infantry just from behind the lines, because they're obviously going to be in range of the enemy infantry. Now we have our anti-tank support, I think these guys are called. That doesn't matter, but they've got that good 1000 meter range, so as soon as the javelins have done firing, the Erexes come into fire. Erexes, what? These names. But they come into play, they come into fire. They're in a 10-point infantry transport as well, the M2 Browning. Yeah, they do their job well. I only get 6 of those though, but I guess that's because they have got that 1000 meter range, 1 kilometer. Next, a really cheap infantry, the Fusiliers. Not even the 90s, just the standard Fusiliers, so we've got 20 of them. So we can bring in a lot of them. And they're on the cheap infantry, cheap transport as well, so they're 15 points, so my cheapest infantry unit that I can bring forward. It's always good just to have cheap infantry to support your heavy infantry. That's it. Next we have the Digger 90s yet again. So we have a lot of Diggers. And they are transported in not the best transport, but it's 10 points as well. Does its job though, it gets them there and it can support them. And also the Diggers have that nice 800, well almost 900 meter rocket launcher. You can come into extreme good play in close quarters with tanks. Next, Canadian Airborne. Standard, I thought I needed some elite Canadian unit, in this case Shock. Transported by air, the same as all my elite infantry. Obviously that brings up the price by quite a toll, but they're here and they're staying. Next we have the SASR, which I believe is Australian SAS. Yeah, it must be because I've got the New Zealand SAS too. So pretty much 30 point unit, 10-man squad, elite training, pretty good. Also that nice M60, which is dominating, if I remember that's the right one. And last but not least, like I said, the British SAS. Anti-air, anti-ground, basically I'd say still reconnaissance. The ultimate unit, transporting the nice little Puma. Good measures. These are my favourite infantry unit to play with. Anyway, that has been the third Mechanised. Hope you enjoyed this little unit. This basically shows you how I play the game. I use a lot of infantry and a lot of anti-tank, as well as I've become a big fan of air and halos now. And I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.